Welcome back to Chips and Salsa, where we talk about security at Intel. I'm Jerry.
And I'm Krobe. Today's show, we're going to talk about with some folks from Microsoft who worked with Intel on a joint security review on Intel Trust Domain Extensions, or TDX, and it was the 1.5 version, while that product was still under development.
Yeah, and for viewers who may not know, TDX is part of the Intel Confidential Computing portfolio and is a trusted execution environment that offers isolation and confidentiality at the virtual machine level.
Yes. And viewers can learn more about Intel Confidential Compute Technologies at the link below. But now, let's bring in our Intel and Microsoft experts and learn more about this joint security review. Welcome, everybody, to the show. Let's start off by having each of you introduce yourselves and kind of describe briefly what you do.
Okay, so I'm Ben Chania. I'm a security researcher in Microsoft. My work usually focus on hardware and embedded devices. Basically, I look for vulnerabilities in architecture and the code, the firmware of embedded devices.
Hi everyone. I'm Yair Netzer. I'm a principal security research manager at Microsoft, and actually before Microsoft, I used to work at Intel for 14 years. So this is a nice place for me to be. And actually, it's a nice closure for me because 3 years ago, I was supposed to talk to you guys about one of the CSME bug fixes Intel made. It didn't work out for some issues with schedule, but so for me, this is a nice closure coming to talk to you guys.
Well, hopefully we'll have have you on another future show as well.
Yeah, and if I may, before we continue with the introductions, I just want to say that it's me and Ben here, representing Microsoft, but you'll see the breadth of this research. It was a lot of people working on this, and I want to call out specifically Moti Malkovich and Maxime Villaud, who were very significant in it, but are not attending today. So just want to say thanks to them as well.
Raju?
Hi, I'm Nagaraju Kodalapura. Would like to be called Raju, and I have been with Intel for last 20 plus years, and I am a principal engineer in a offensive security research domain. My areas of focus includes confidential computing and virtualization. I'm very happy to be associated with Truck and team for last 10 plus years, and I'm also very happy to get collaborated with my friends from Microsoft on TDX research, which is close to my heart and which is my day job.
And I'm Truck Nguyen. I lead a team of offensive security researcher at Intel, focusing in server security technologies and confidential computing technologies. Besides that, I'm also responsible for the Hackathon program, where we, on average, runs about 100 or so hackathon across Intel, across different products. So, an example of a hackathon, we'll talk about it later, but, with our collaboration with Microsoft on TDX, we also use the hackathon methodology. So,
nice. Well, welcome everybody. So let's talk a little bit about this. Prior to the release of Intel TDX 1.5, Microsoft and Intel conducted a joint security review of the product. Before we talk about the results of that effort, can you tell us more about Microsoft's confidential compute strategy and how Intel TDX helps to achieve that?
Yes, absolutely. So I don't know if you've seen it in the last couple of days. Satya published his email about Microsoft putting security first. Mm-hmm. And this is not starting now with this email. So at Microsoft, we always put a big emphasis on security of all our products, and specifically the security of the data centers. Customers' data and workloads are a priority for us to protect. And we always try to improve and innovate in this space. And confidential compute is just one of the foundational layers of protecting public cloud and at the edge. We see this as an instrumental technology, helping us achieve our goals. And we have a close partnership with Intel on this. and we're already seeing steady Microsoft first party services adopting this technology, starting to run workloads on confidential compute, and adoption by other segments as well, as such as government, healthcare, and finance. So it's very significant for us, the use of or the collaboration with Intel on confidential compute.
Yeah, so I just want to add, I think I believe one of Microsoft's reasons to really invest in confidential compute is to reduce the blast radius in cases of, as unlikely it may be in case of host compromise. So if there is any compromise in the host, you still want that compromise to not impact any of the guest workloads, and confidential compute is exactly the way to do it.
Nice.
Very nice.
Okay. And then I think from Intel perspective, first of all, every product that Intel go through SDL, and for TDX, it's such a important technologies. We've done reviews at IP level, as the SoC level, and at the platform level. But we also want to continue to improve the secure assurance with the customers' integration and perspective. And so that's what we wanted to get out of our collaboration with Microsoft, is to integrate the user usages perspective, and then at the same time, after that would be transparently share our collaborative work with others user for TDX, and therefore continue to raise the trust in the confidential computing technology that Intel provides.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing to hear. Anything to add, Raghu?
Yeah, so as Truck mentioned, in Intel, we do know thorough SDL across Intel products and technologies, including TDX. And as part of offensive security research, we do above and beyond what SDL teams do. But for us, the one of the most exciting thing is to collaborate with external research partners like Microsoft researchers on focusing on TDX technology, which is quite complex. And we wanted to understand the usage model and also the cloud service providers' perspective of adopting these technologies, which was one major takeaway for our team. And we had a very good learning in the process, and we also got very good feedback in terms of how we have done the security assurance that we can also discuss later. But that way, this collaboration was very productive.
Awesome. So let's talk about this joint collaboration a little bit. So as you were setting out for the security review, what objectives did you all set that you wanted to achieve?
So, our customers expect the data centers to be to meet the highest security standards. So we wanted to make sure that Intel TDX meets this bar. So in TDX version 1.5, the one we reviewed, actually introduced quite substantial new features, be it TD Live migration, which allows migrating a confidential VM from one physical server to another, while still retaining the same security promise of confidentiality from the host, from the hypervisor, which warranted a whole new mechanism for transferring TD data in a secure manner. There's also a TD partitioning, which allows running several VMs inside the TD, including a legacy VM that's not in TDX aware. Even TD preserving update, a feature to update the TDX firmware while not tearing down the running TDs. All those new features introduced very large amounts of architecture, of new code, of new attack surfaces. So in our review, we decided to focus on those new features and make sure they're all as secure as possible.
Yeah, adding to what Ben mentioned, from our perspective, one of the objectives for the research collaboration is also to bring the CSP usage models and additional new threat models that we may not have evaluated as part of our security research. And we did uncover and brainstorm such new threat models and based on their expertise and our interaction, we managed to identify new areas of threats, and we did deep dive into those areas and help strengthen the architecture and design. So that way, that objective was implicitly included as part of our collaboration with Microsoft.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. That to me has to be one of the best benefits, right? Because we develop our own threat models, but when you actually work with a customer like Microsoft that's deploying the product so broadly, having you and apply your threat models seems to be. I mean, why wouldn't you? So we talked about hackathons and a joint hackathon that Microsoft and Intel did together during this effort. What would you say were some of the major benefits of doing that joint company hackathon?
Let me take this one or start. So I want to say that I'm a big fan of Intel's hackathon, also because of my previous experience with that. It's a great way to bring multiple viewing and angles and perspectives to a single point, lots of expertise. And like Raju mentioned, it was also a great area for us to align our threat models and see where we're aligned in our perspectives, where we see gaps, and really create that shared understanding of the technology and the risks that we want to mitigate. Specifically for TDX, because of the magnitude of it and the complexity, we first started with a 4 months or 3.5 months review by a smaller team. That, first of all, that enabled us to ramp up on the technology, really refine the scope we want to review, build some expertise into it. And also, by the way, shift the priorities we initially set out to cover as we understood the product better. And that enabled us to reach the hackathon in a much more mature state, where we want to know what we want to achieve, and which people we need to have in the room in order to get it done. And then having everyone sit together for a 2-week hackathon, at the end it yielded amazing results. And again, it's such a complex or large scale project. We really needed all these type of people, debug experts, hypervisor experts, low level, firmware design review experts, code review. So really, a hackathon is just a great way to do that in general, and a cross company one just really brought additional perspective to the room.
Nice.
Yeah, I think from a Intel perspective, let's just give our audience just a quick background on what is hackathon. The hackathon methodology at the fundamental basis is bringing product development team and secure researcher together in one room, right? So when I say product development team, does include architecture, designer, developer, validators, right? And then when we have all this folks with deep understanding of the product, and you bring the researcher in, asking the question live, and having the conversations about threat models, and it's just creating an environment where new thoughts, new potential attack vectors, new threats coming out of just different perspective. And for our experience, for this collaboration, as Yair mentioned earlier, we had about 3 months prior to the face-to-face hackathon, where individual team perform a ramp up and review on their own. So, during that period, we also uncover some code issue, etc. But when we get into the hackathon, the face-to-face, amazing thing happened. Right? I mean, the results of the outcome, what we found during the 1 week hackathon was about 3 times what we were able to find, in the previous 3 months. Right. So very, very excellent results.
Nice.
Yeah, maybe I would like to quickly add on to what AI Rentrek mentioned. As hackathon has been one of the major techniques that we have been adopting in Intel for last many years, and including TDX, we had done many internal hackathons prior to our engagement with Microsoft. But for the first time, to my experience, we did something like this with our external partners, and the results, as Struck mentioned, was really quite improved a lot when we did with offline reviews. The primary reason because it brings a lot of folks onto the same page, and we can expedite a lot of reviews and findings with the product team very easily. And also Intel is so committed, we got approved to even do international travel all the way to Israel and conduct the 2 week face-to-face hackathon with researchers from Intel Israel and Microsoft Israel. So that shows the significance of this program that we have at Intel, and I'm equally happy that the results were very, very exciting out of this hackathon.
Yeah, sounds like.
Yeah. Well, it's fun talking about how much fun everybody had, but let's get to the juicy bits. What were the actual results of the hackathon, folks?
Yeah, I'll start with some numbers. In total, there were 21 findings, including recommendations and some functional bugs. Out of those 21, there were 6 vulnerabilities and 4 defense in depth. So 4 issues that were not immediately exploitable, but could pose a risk down the line. 3 of those vulnerabilities could compromise TDX core promise of confidentiality and integrity of the confidential VM, either by forging data station of malicious TD, or by taking over running customer TD. One of the vulnerabilities even allowed us to execute code in the context of the TDX models, the core component of the TDX, basically granting us a complete TDX takeover. Another issue we found impacted all versions of TDX, even the original 1.0 version. So that's just like a taste of the vulnerabilities. Just as an example of one of the results, which I think is a great example for why this type of collaboration is really significant. When we reviewed the migration flow together, we noticed there were some discrepancies in how Microsoft and Intel view the migration flow threat model, which led to discovering some of those findings. We are actually going to talk about those vulnerabilities in more depth on Blue Hat IL on the 21st this month, on May. So check it out too.
Yeah, I want to say that thanks, Ben, for this overview of the issues. I think it might sound intimidating, but if you consider, the amount of effort and the amount of people reviewing the code, it's important to say that the overall impression we had was that TDX is very robust. It's very clear Intel has given it considered amount of thought and effort to make it secure. We really had to dig in there to find issues, and now that all of us are finished, it's even more secure. And I'm very confident after this hackathon with this technology. Just to add this perspective.
Yeah, that was going to be one of my questions. How confident does Microsoft feel about the technology now that you guys have done this effort? And I think you just answered that.
Yeah, just to add a little bit on that, doing all this collaboration, the 3.5 months and the 2 weeks hackathon, I think the three most crucial vulnerabilities are actually found on the last week or even 3 days, something like that. It was that much a challenge.
Nice.
So maybe from my side, I would say, no, honestly, when we started the collaboration, when we started discussing, we had that feeling, no, we are talking to external researchers, our partners, and so on. Especially during the hackathon 2 weeks time, we all were like, just work like one team. There were no boundaries, there were no barriers, and we were very open. They were very open. And indeed, we learned a lot from the way they conduct the security research from the CSP perspective, and they were openly discussing those aspects. And from our side, whatever our strengths are, we were able to demonstrate, and they were very appreciative of that, as I mentioned. So yeah, it was a very great experience. There were the findings that were reported. We had took it quite seriously. We worked through different product teams at Intel to get to the mitigation, and Truck did a great job to really coordinate with all the stakeholders, and we managed to mitigate all the reported issues, which is very, that shows our commitment to TDX security, and so it makes us more proud and happy.
Yeah, I think I think value add for us, beside the number of new attack vectors, the number of vulnerabilities, architecture or design improvement recommendations that Ben has mentioned. Another value add for us is really seeing the integration perspective from Microsoft and Azure. And also, there were tools such as the Hyper-V testing and versioning capability that the Microsoft team brought to the table. And so we actually learned quite a bit from that, and we'll basically integrate the learning as part of our continuous improvement to our product development at Intel.
Yeah, that's awesome. That was going to be one of my follow-up questions. How did we at Intel take those learnings and integrate them into our development process? So it sounds awesome. So amazing work, amazing outcomes. As we kind of come to a close, or any final thoughts on the experience, the outcomes, and future work?
Yeah, I think, first of all, this was very positive for us, and this is an opportunity to say thanks to Truck for setting this up and really pushing for this collaboration. Me personally started this journey with very little knowledge in confidential compute, and I think my understanding of it, my belief in it, understanding the significance of it is now in a very different place. And as security researchers, we the main reason we come to the job is to break things, which is nice. But I think but real impact comes not just from breaking things, but actually then rebuilding them more securely, and the joint collaboration really enabled us to get there, and reviewing the fixes and coming up with our own suggestions, and really sharing thoughts about how this should be done, and I'm grateful for Intel for setting this up. About future work, we already did a smaller collaboration with Intel on OSSC firmware, and that was also a positive experience for us, and we look forward to more such joint work.
Awesome.
Okay. And then I think from my perspective, with the objective that we set out at the beginning of the engagement, I believe that we achieved that objective and more, right? To collaboratively improve the secure assurance of Intel Trust Domain Extension, TDX. And then we'll be sharing our learning, our finding, and the mitigation of those findings here pretty soon. And then again, incorporating some of the learning some of the new threat, new attack vector that from this engagement into our continuous product development improvement. Going forward, again, there are plenty of technologies, import technology in confidential computings, and the next version of TDX. There's plenty of other technology that I'm looking forward to for another very successful collaboration with Microsoft team. So
yeah, from my side, I would like to thank Microsoft team for their really a great teamwork and professional security research expertise they brought to the table, and we had a very great working experience with them, and I'm equally looking forward to collaborate with them in coming days, and I will be discussing with Truck on those aspects as well.
Okay, well, we want to thank you all for joining us for this episode of Chips and Salsa to talk about this joint security review of Intel TDX between Microsoft and Intel. Great info, and I think from an Intel perspective, some really good takeaways for us. So thank you all for joining us today.
Thank you.
well, thank you.
Wow! That sounds like the joint security review of TDX 1.5 was an amazing success, Jerry.
It does, and I'm impressed by how the teams were able to be so agile and adjust their methodologies and threat models as they went. It's really impressive that the whole thing about that external perspective and bringing it in, those learnings back into Intel as we go forward is pretty awesome.
Right. Collaboration works, Jerry. And it sounds like Microsoft's confidential compute offering based on Intel's confidential compute portfolio is really, really robust.
Indeed. And that's it for this episode of Chips and Salsa. We'll see you next time.